Okay, so I did see Joe shuttle his presentation about digging ditches, and probably this presentation will qualify as one of them. It's filled with it has the wrong font color choice. It has probably the wrong background colors. It was a little bit hastily. This presentation is a combined presentation from the status what Bitwise Works from Austria is working on and what Voice has been doing in the back room, maybe not that visible to you guys, but let's get started. I'm using something called Help Desk, which was developed by Rich Walsh. He's sitting there in the room somewhere. Can you raise your hand, Rich? Where are you hiding? Oh, he's just off camera.
Oh.
Ah, hello. That's actually the first time that I'm seeing him, so hello. Well, one of the hidden OS2 users in the cave somewhere that you rarely hear of except online. Anyway, he's created a package called Help Desk, and that allows people like me or other people from the community to log in remotely on a user system, and then we can actually see your desktop. It's kind of like a TeamViewer program, but then for OS2. It can run on anything from Warp 4, since everything that's needed for the remote encrypted connection is included in the package that gets sent to the customer. And it's only 900 kilobytes, so I consider that pretty small. Okay, I'm going to press the page down button, and I hope that it's going to flip the page. I'm actually there. I'm actually giving it, but it's taking about. Okay, it still has not it still has not refreshed my page here. So I'll open up the PDF here so that oh, there it is. It takes about 10 seconds to redraw. Well, who's talking to you? Who's pressing the buttons there? Most of you will probably know me, but I understood from Neil that there are some new people there, but I'll keep the introduction short. I'm Roderick Klein. I've been using OS2 since 1994. I couldn't make it to Warpstock because at my daytime job it's pretty busy, so I couldn't get days off. We've got some projects that we need to deliver to customers. So I used to work at the company Menzies, which probably most of you know as the company that did EcomStation. I left that. I had to think about my career as well, so I'm getting older. You can probably see I'm gray as well and getting bald, so just like the rest of you all, or if you already are. So I'm joining the club slowly. I have, however, never let go of OS2. You probably Voice Foundation, and we try to contribute to the familiarity of OS2 in all sorts of ways. And this is now a combined presentation from Bitwise Works. Everybody running Arca OS or ECS is running software that was created by Bitwise Works from Austria. It's in every recent OS2 distribution, as these are the guys that do most of the porting for OS2 and Arca OS these days. It flipped already the page?
Yes.
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 Okay, it still hasn't flipped here. It takes about 10 seconds. Hello? I think it has to do with the lag on the Wi-Fi there, possibly. I don't know. Let me...
Yeah.
Yeah, the upload speeds here is too slow.
Nope, still not refreshed. Well, oh, there it is. Is this page... One moment.
The role of social media.
Let me open the presentation here, because if I press page down too quickly and then it flips a page, one moment. I already heard it from Neil this morning that there were some people there at Warpstock that mentioned do something with social media. Steve, where are you in the room? Yeah, that's the guy that invented the term that OS2 users live in caves. Give him a round of applause. And to be honest, they're all cave dwellers. And I used to be one of them, and I'm trying to improve things. One thing that's still an issue with OS2 is that younger people are not finding it. And I also see that in some of the other daily hobbies that I have, there's a kind of a poll on the internet which is called social media and mobile phone apps. It wasn't really until about a year ago I was sitting in the train, I was noticing that everybody's using mobile phones, and they all are using apps, but the division why most younger people below 40, 45 years old do not catch on any news related to OS2 is because most of our news is not distributed on social media. In fact, most people on a mobile phone use applications from LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. They don't use a web browser, and that's where the division line runs. I mentioned it to you last year already. There was a Dutch user group for Commodore 64 users. It was just about dead. It was almost shut down, and they got a new group of board members, and they became very active on Facebook. 3 years later, that same user group has 400 active members, and the meeting facility where they meet each 2 months is completely overbooked. They've got 60 people sitting in an old church building, and they have too little space to park their cars. They have this meeting every 2 months, and the primary thing that reached this was social media. They have a very active group. So over the last year, I've been working on hooking up what we call the news system. If you go to the main website of OS2 Voice, you'll see that there's all sorts of news being distributed about latest developments from Arc Noah, Bitwise Works, NetLabs, and other software ports that people are making for OS2. But this news now also gets distributed to Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Is that an optimal way of using social media? It's not. But until recently, the amount of news that could be found on these forums with latest content, it would vary because it was mostly manual copy pasting of work, and I've used some automated systems for that. Is this good enough? No, but we should certainly work more at attracting younger people to the platform, because I have noticed interest for Arca OS. But yeah, you know, I was recently at the Rex LA conference organized by the Rex LA Foundation in the US, in the United Kingdom. And there were a couple of people there that worked for IBM, and they didn't even know that Arca OS existed. So that kind of gets the point across. Anyway, now is the page flipped?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, wait, I'm flipping the PDF here, sorry.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, I've always been, not everybody is always capable of describing an issue that occurs on a system clearly in a user forum or in a ticket. So if you have an issue with the system, the basic description that you get back, it doesn't work. Yeah, and then there's the deafening silence, you know. We cannot read the user's screen, we're not telepathic. So how do you find out? So one of the reasons that I asked Rich Walsh to create this utility is that we could actually, if a user wants this, and other people, you can use this, by the way, free of charge. It's downloadable from the Voice website. You can use that for remote support. So I can now see the desktop of the system, and when somebody says this is the issue, I can look at the system. He doesn't even have to make a screenshot of it. So, and I think, Neil, you also used this with a customer in New York, didn't you?
Yes.
So anyway, and Andy Willis, I tested it with him as well. It even worked over a internet satellite connection. So it's pretty robust. It's just that with this Wi-Fi connection, there seems to be some disturbance. So if you'd like to help other people in the community, you can use this help desk package on your system. The README file contains all of the details on how you need to set this up. Waiting.
RPM.
It flipped.
It flipped here. RPM.
Okay, yeah. This has been a topic that has been on previous slides as well. The RPM OS2 voice.org domain has existed for 2 years already, but it's eventually targeted at putting a lot of older software that is now on the internet and also newly ported software in RPM format, so that you can use Arknoa Package Manager to install this. And at the end of this presentation, I'll give a brief demonstration of that. The system itself, what makes this unique is that it's a mostly automated build engine that builds RPM files mostly automatically and in a pretty standardized way. RPM has benefits, but it can also have disadvantages if they're not built in a consistent fashion. One of the things that we also want to do is to repackage older OS2 software. And we've got, for example, now a first RPM package where the old embellished photo editor is completely repackaged in an RPM file. You can just click on it and it's downloaded and installed in about 5 seconds, and you get an icon on your desktop. You don't have to, so that's the whole goal of this repository. There is also a VLC media player in the pipeline, so that finally on OS2 you can install a current media player that can play back video and audio formats, and you can just click in Arknoa Package Manager on that RPM file, it gets installed, and it will set all of the proper associations correctly, so that if you click on an MPEG file or a AVI file, it will just play. So that should finally start to address some of the things that were lacking on OS2. The software is there, it's just not accessible in a convenient format. But I'll give a demonstration of that later.
It flipped.
While you guys enjoy Warpstock there, you probably have noticed that Warpstock Europe continues to move forward. Next year, for people interested in coming, is that we'll be having a Warpstock Europe in May of next year. And it will either be in Germany or Frankfurt. Sorry, in the Netherlands or in Frankfurt in Germany. Later dates are to be announced. We're having a kind of a stable amount of visitors, varying from about 30 to 40 people. And it also has, in some cases, resulted in some more press publicity for OS2 because the event takes place. So keep up the good work on the other side of the Atlantic. And we're also looking at combining the Warpstock Europe with other events, such as, for example, with Rex LA. I'm just curious because there are probably some people in the room that of course know about it and have contributed funding to it. Who has heard the news of this new web browser that's being worked on by Bitwise Works? Could everybody raise their hand? Most of them. Okay. Well, the issue is that we for a long time have relied on the Mozilla web browser to browse on OS2, but due to technical limitations, it's reaching the end of the track. We're now at 45.9. I've already experienced some websites that no longer work, or they don't work smoothly. One of the main reasons that you're seeing that is that the browser development and how the web standards are developing is going at a bizarre fast rate, and our software is not keeping up. By the way, Firefox 45 was released in April of 2017, so it's almost getting to be 3 years old, which for a web browser is pretty old. Whoops. Could somebody please press page up until you get to the page where it says future Mozilla browser looks very bleak. I accidentally pressed the end page, I think.
Alright, we're
We
good.
got it.
Yeah, thanks. This has been something that has been coming for some time, so that's why we started this whole venture to get a new browser on OS2. The reason that future for Mozilla build looks kind of bleak, if anybody is interested in picking this up, we currently don't have a Rust compiler for OS2. And if somebody can create it for OS2, that would be great. I've understood that it might not even run on OS2, the Rust compiler, since there are some kernel limitations, namely being that we don't have enough memory space available. Because the Mozilla browser switched over to the Rust language for developers. The other thing that has been a complaint from Dimitri from Bitwise Works, who has been maintaining Firefox since circa Firefox 24, is that it's a very colossal project, meaning that a lot of changes were made in every build and every version. DLLs came and went, and that's what made it largely unmaintainable. Steve has made a presentation last year on how you can best tune Firefox 45. You can find the URL in the presentation, otherwise Steve will have it on the SCOAC webpage. Getting Firefox 52 on OS2 could be a solution. Estimate that would take about 3 to 4 months to get something of a stable browser working on the platform. That's estimated with a full-time, with somebody working on it full-time. But then again, the problem is Firefox 52 would then be the end of the line, since it's questionable how long that browser can still be maintained. Oh. Did it switch pages?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The description I'm about to give you might vary from your web usage from person to person. But in general, as Firefox 45 is aging, it will start giving all sorts of symptoms. Blank pages, or a page that doesn't load. In some cases, you get an HTTPS error message. Pages are not displayed correctly. Certain elements are not loaded. Sometimes the CPU load goes to 100%. That only happens in Firefox 45.9, but it's pretty hard to trace that down. You might get an error message that you're visiting a website, like if you now go to gmail.com, it will say, your browser is not supported. Or if you go to eBay, it will do that as well. We might be able to buy some time using a user agent, but the problem is these problems will simply continue to increase. And in some cases, I know more users that have to switch to booting Linux or Windows or Mac, or that buy a tablet to navigate the internet. So is there a solution? Yes, the solution is in sight, and it's closer than a lot of people are thinking. In October 2017 at Warpstock, at that time, I announced that the Voice Foundation would be starting a funding campaign to get a new browser on OS2, which would be based on the Qt web engine. Is everybody, I guess that after yesterday, thanks for doing that, Greg, everybody is familiar with what Qt kind of is. It's effectively, to put it very simple, primarily it started out as a platform where you can have user elements such as menus in a standardized coding framework, and that means that you can recompile a user interface made in Qt on Windows and also now on OS2 again, because we have this current port. However, Qt also comes with something called the web engine, and as time is moving forward, this web engine is becoming the default engine that's used by web browsers to interpret a website and display it to you as a user. In fact, it's so popular that the Chrome web browser from Google is using it. And since about a year ago, the Microsoft Edge browser has also started using the same WebKit engine. What that means for us as OS2 users is that we will be getting a largely industry-compliant browser again, because our new browser will be using that WebKit under the bonnet. Compared to that other Firefox 45.9, if you want to test how compatible your browser is, you can go to html5test.com, and there it will run a whole set of tests to see how your browser is performing. Currently, the Falcon browser on Windows scores 540 out of the 555 points that the browser can score. Firefox 45 on OS2 scores 400 points. So that explains to some extent why certain pages are not being displayed correctly. One of the things that I learned recently talking to Dimitri from Bitwise Works is that some of the Chromium code, which is part of the Chrome browser, has already been partly introduced by the Mozilla Foundation in Firefox 24 or 38. At one of those browsers, they started already using some of the code. Now, if there are people concerned about the fact that when we use this WebKit engine and we use code from Google, that the browser would leak your private data to Google? Not as far as I'm aware of, since this is just purely code to process the web page, and that the front-end code, the GUI, that's what sends the data to Google. Let's see here.
We got it.
Are there any questions on this whole topic about the browser?
Is this something you can see yet? It runs, or?
No, it's well, actually, did it flip the page already?
Yes,
Yes.
it did.
It hasn't here. It hasn't here. One moment. Let me flip the page here. The basic work for Qt is finished. There is now it's not yet in the stable release of the NetLabs repository, but in the beta repository of NetLabs, you can find the latest version of the Qt library. It cannot be demonstrated yet, but currently Bitwise Works is working on the last critical component, and that's the WebKit DLL itself. It's expected to be December or the beginning of next year that this whole WebKit DLL will be finished, and then there will also porting the browser, then compiling the browser on OS2 to actually give a working browser is going to be not that much work. One of the reasons why this whole Qt framework is much more interesting instead of the Mozilla framework is that there are multiple Qt browsers out there, and about 80% of the code that runs under the bonnet of a Qt browser is in Qt. So when we port the Falcon browser over, that's mostly GUI code that stitches everything together. But the actual kit, the actual DLL that interprets the web page that you download, that's all in WebKit. So if the community would like to do that, we can actually port other WebKit-based browsers as well to OS2. We have other choices if people would like to do that. Also, the Falcon browser will be distributed in an RPM format, making it, from the day that it is released, hopefully easier to update your browser, because you can then go into Arch Noah Package Manager and click on Update All, and then you will also get the latest binaries of the Falcon browser. And if you want to have more information on the whole project, you can go to articles os2voice.org, where from time to time post a update about the status of this project. As you might have heard, Sylvan Scherer couldn't make it. He had some private issues he had to attend to, so Friday evening I started putting together a presentation where currently Bitwise Works is at with their porting activities. So I did have the presentation just briefly verified by Dimitri, so as far as I can tell there are no errors in it. Has it flipped yet? Yeah, there's. I assume most of you people know who Bitwise Works, that everybody's familiar with that company.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It's they're based in Austria, and while it is a German LLC, effectively, it's mostly a labor of love for them. All software updates are available free of charge via the NetLabs repository. But that's why we continuously have these requests out to the community to help fund Bitwise Works. Sometimes I've understood from Sylvan, sometimes Bitwise Works gets the response that people say, well, I've already paid for Arca OS, so why should I pay for a browser? Well, yeah, I can understand that, but sadly we need to have some funding, as most of the porting work, we need somebody to do that. Maintaining all of that is a pretty chunk of work, a big chunk of work. Oh.
Okay.
So here are some of the projects that Bitwise Works works on. For the last 12 months, Dimitri has been working on updating the Qt port of OS2. There's also somebody from the Netherlands called Albert Pol, who will probably be updating some of his other Qt-based ports for OS2. And there's also a developer from South Korea that ports VLC Media Player to OS2. And now with this new Qt version, he will also be capable of updating his VLC Media Player port. So that whole Qt DLL was ported, so other software porters can benefit of that. Next to that, Bitwise Works maintains a current port of Apache OpenOffice, Samba Server, and CUPS printer drivers. One thing I'd like to point out too is that Bitwise Works maintains a lot of libraries, because all of this software that needs to be compiled on OS2 needs DLLs. And they're currently maintaining about 250 different files for keeping all of this software compiled. So, to give you an example of what they're running into is that they're currently working on the WebKit DLL, and this is just. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, what is the slide that you now have on the screen?
Future of Arca OS.
Oh, could you guys flip it one page further? I think that I made a order error in the PDF.
Oh, you got it.
What?
What BWW works on? Qt Web Engine library?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, you're on.
One moment, it needs to update here. I know some people keep track of the different repositories that Bitwise Works is working on their projects, and sometimes it seems that Bitwise Works isn't doing much, but this is just to give you one example. Every time that a new library has to be ported to OS2, those DLLs also require another DLL set. So this is currently for that Qt WebKit DLL that we want to have on OS2 for the browser, and it's just a matter of compiling the code. So here's a list of what they're currently working on. and they needed to port it. They needed to port these applications to OS2 so that the actual DLL itself can be compiled. That's one of the reasons why you're sometimes seeing a delay in getting certain things done. But as it stands right now, the whole Qt library, the whole Qt project has been on track, and it has been a project of close to 12 months. But I thought I'd just give you an insight in what it means for a developer to port something to the platform, and that it can sometimes takes longer. I'll just flip back one page. The reason that I stuck this page in here is that when I started this funding campaign for the browser, I got some responses from people, well, what if BitwiseWorks cannot finish their browser and won't deliver? Well, I think that everybody needs to have a reality check, in the sense that who would have been, if you were told in 2010 that you would still be running OS2 in 2019 and you would be able to run it on modern hardware, who would have believed that? Because IBM has been gone for 15 years. So I think the future looks actually bright, in the sense that we have a lot of stuff happening. We have a UEFI firmware that's under development. David continues to work very hard on his device driver stuff, and I think he deserves a round of applause for that. I'm always thrilled to read the README files and see what is being discovered, and that continues to improve OS2 further, to keep finding new hardware, to keep improving his driver so that new hardware continues to function. I guess is quite a challenge. So, but overall, we've got a new browser in the pipeline. We've got continued updates on our drivers. So there hasn't really changed that much on OS2. It's just that sometimes new things to OS2 come later because we have a limited amount of human resources available in the community to do it. So, but other than that, Voice is not planning on leaving anytime soon, so that's why Warp Stop Europe will be there next year. So here's just a short overview what BitwiseWorks has been doing in the last 2.5 months. Dimitri has been more or less working on the Qt libraries all the time, and Sylvan has been updating some of these ports. So it's primarily making certain that we can keep our CUPS printer drivers up to date. There are still some issues in some cases with CUPS printers, but in general, the success rate of CUPS continues to go up, and we have at least a better printer support on OS2 thanks for that. OpenSSL continues to be maintained, which is used in the background for all sorts of communication utilities. So that's good news. Oh, wait a minute, is this audible? wget has been updated, Poplar, and the libjpeg library has been updated. But these are just some of the examples of what's happening from month to month, updating them. So they're taking the source code for certain Linux projects, compiling them, and then when they're tested, they get added to the repository. And that's how we continue to have updated DLLs for OS2 that other people can use to compile programs on OS2. Has it flipped yet?
Yes.
Yes.
So, wait a minute. No, my page didn't refresh correctly. So you'll probably understand that that request is coming again. A lot of people are downloading updates for DLLs from the NetLab server, and it's Bitwise Works in the back room that's doing a lot of those updates. So if you want to support Bitwise Works, you can do that in multiple ways. You can do that by purchasing a sponsor unit in their web shop, and they recently started accepting payments via Patreon, which is a monthly donation service used. Other people, the other reason for starting to use Patreon is that it becomes more visible outside of the OS2 community. So your continued support is needed, but we will soon have an updated browser within the next 2 months, meaning that you will not have to reboot to Linux or Windows to visit most of your pages. Oh, I think my, oops. Okay, I think my remote support session just had an issue. Which page is it currently?
How can you contribute to OS2 Voice?
Ah, thanks. Yeah, I think my remote support just decided to die on me.
Oh, it's moving.
The mouse is moving.
Oh no, oh, it still worked. Something else died off then. Okay. I think over the last year or so, Voice has spent a record amount of money, and most of that money has been coming from the community. I think I think the whole browser project costed at least 25,000 euros in that vicinity. But that's what it takes if you have one developer working full time at this. So we also need your donations to continue this work. If you'd like to see some software ported to OS2, contact either Bitwise Works or you can contact me at president@os2voice.org. Or you can make a donation via the URL in there. You can also become a Voice donator. And then by collecting that funding centrally, you've seen what we've done. We've been able to get a new browser out the door in a pretty close time frame. Let's see here. Oh, did it change pages or not?
No. You're moving the mouse, but the page didn't change. Nope, still didn't change.
It didn't change?
Nope. The mouse is still moving, so he's getting connection through it. Press the button on the keyboard up here.
Could somebody press page down, please?
Stand up here.
Sit in the chair there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
There you go.
Sorry, sadly the help desk package needs some help. I think it's
Okay.
due to the Wi-Fi lag, because I also see it in my Skype connection here that sometimes the video freezes. So
Okay. Short demo.
anyway, sorry?
Short demo.
Yeah, I'm going to try this, but I don't know if it's gonna work. Can somebody please take the Lucidity program out of full screen mode, please?
Was it
F5, wasn't it?
F5?
Okay.
F5 is present.
It's out of full screen mode.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's still full screen.
Also, remember, you can't use the,
Let's maximize.
Use
not full
Yeah, it's maximized, right?
Yeah.
In the meantime, are there any questions while I try to set up this demo or not?
Yes, I asked you about WebGL. Did you ask Dimitri about WebGL?
Yes, I did. Let me check my mailbox on that, because I think I stored his answer somewhere. WebGL. And if I can't find it, I'll send you an answer back. You want that WebGL support because the Apple website requires that, right?
Yes, for the Apple interaction with the iPhone and the iPad.
No, you will get an answer from me later. I need to check with Dimitri on that.
Okay. You're on a boot drive F, by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay, one moment.
He's on C.
Well, he started with F,
Right,
which is the
switched
boot
to
drive,
C,
and he
yeah.
switched to C because he thought that was the boot drive.
Oh. Oh,
Which is also a boot drive, but it's not the one we're running now. Yeah.
This protocol. You got my,
It depends on how far.
20s when I get back home on Tuesday.
While,
Yeah, I know.
and I'm running low on share memory, yeah, I can do
That's
this.
not the worst.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Are,
go
are
home.
there any other questions, by the way?
Questions?
Nope, not
Uh,
right now. Pay attention to what you're doing.
Do you know anything about the new possibility of a new Java port? Neil?
Yes, I did ask Dimitri that, and his estimate to get a current build of OpenGDK on OS2 would be between 3 to 4 months of time.
Okay.
One benefit of our OpenGDK port is that it's using the Windows sources to compile in conjunction with Odin, so that would pretty dramatically speed up the development time compared to rewriting everything natively on OS2, which is preferred, but it's an awful lot of work to do that. Oh, do you have no repositories defined in this on this system, Neil?
I would expect I do. I should have NetLabs and Arcanoa at least, and the installation CD. I don't know what's going wrong there.
Wi-Fi something.
Shouldn't be Wi-Fi. I
that
mean,
wouldn't affect that.
yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Roderick, but the idea is that we all already can use the OS2 voice RPM repository right now, or just making a preview.
He wants to
No,
keep.
this is a preview.
Okay.
What has been causing most of the delay getting this done is the engine behind this is an automated system that can build RPMs in the background, but There will be more information about it in the coming weeks. One moment, let me check something.
And stuff that can't be hosted in the U.S. legally.
I missed it. I didn't hear very
Time for
many games.
Yeah.
Didn't hear very many games.
No. Wait.
Time to pray.
That was only like 5 or 6.
We're on the
wasn't it?
East Coast. There's very few
Oh, he's
time
in the
zones.
What time zone?
A GMT +1.
Be 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it is right.
Yeah.
Thought his clock was wrong.
We said 4 o'clock.
4.
It's still right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, what happened?
I told you
You
that's what
refreshed the
they
page
should.
or something?
I don't know.
Because it was blank a minute ago.
Ah. And I recited which ones I thought were there, and there they are. Yeah.
could
That's.
somebody give a right click on that mouse? Oh, there it is.
It's already there.
Okay, well that's weird. It's saying that the repository is unavailable, but it does work here on my system.
I've heard that before.
What's the name of the repo again?
rpm.os2voice.org.
Yeah, but what's the name of the repo? Voice, what's that? RPM.os2.voice
Repo demos. Repos demos.
repos demos.
It's a good way to keep it secret.
I was already thinking they were just broadcasting on YouTube Live.
Well, the reason that we didn't want to disclose it is because people could install the RPMs and then they don't work correctly. So
Right.
it's a test repository. This one.
Well, it's on YouTube Live right now. So.
Yeah.
Actually, it also has a beta. Did it drop out?
The mouse is still moving around.
You right click.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, that
Well,
shouldn't
isn't
happen.
that it?
How do you get to the top of the window?
I just
Alt
control.
F7.
Yeah. Right. Alt
I figured that
F7.
would be keyboard. When someone said use keyboard to move a window over.
What, what is it
How to do
displaying right now? I don't have an updated screen.
Oh, look, you have a blank that's sort of off screen. You've opened voice.repo, but it's off screen.
What key combination was that to move it again?
Alt F7, I think they said.
Used to work on Windows too, and then they changed it. We have to do something.
Yeah.
Probably
okay.
been 10 years stuff hasn't
Okay,
happened.
sorry. I think I'll just better at canceling this demo because you guys need to stay on schedule. Or
No, we have time. We have
Neil,
time.
have you currently got a break built into the program?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not?
You have time. You have
You
time.
have time,
We
go
have
for
time.
it, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to check out till 11.
12.
We got an extension?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's their normal checkout time, it's
Yeah,
12.
I must have misread it.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I read 11. I can't trust my reading.
It was, John put it in his opening remarks, and I verified that before I opened my mouth and stuck my foot in it.
Yeah, you made it last night, too.
Yep.
We're looking at him on Skype.
Not that I won't need it for another couple of years.
What do you do with it?
Pose. Demos.
Oh, you know why you probably can get into it? Because everyone here is getting into it, and it's making it not work anymore.
Could somebody please, I don't know, I think my remote session is completely screwed up now. It's no longer working.
It's work.
Is the mouse moving there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your upload speed is just
Maybe
so
you should
poor.
do it for him.
Yeah. What are you trying to do? I'll do it
Well,
here.
I can't see the screen anymore clearly. On this side, it's completely garbled.
Okay.
Take
Okay.
the
So
camera
Neil, I think you're on.
and swing it around.
Can you close the repository window, please?
Manage repositories. Close it.
Yes, just close it.
Uh oh. I thought I
Close
closed it.
I think you need to close that window. That white. Yeah.
Uh oh. Is that okay? There we go.
Oh no, wait.
Neil, do you now have an updated repository window? Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
It took about 30 seconds for
Yes.
it to redraw.
Yeah. Can you see manage repositories now?
Yeah, can you close that, please?
All right, it's closed.
Might be.
We're now package manager.
Yeah.
Please wait. Oh, you cannot retrieve repository metadata. Repo omd.xml. Please verify its path and try again. Temporarily disabling repository.
Is there no epic on that that URL?
Oh. Should I close? I don't know.
Oh, I think I know what it is. One moment.
There's no S at the end of demos.
There was
I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, I just checked it out.
Oops.
So it's a demo instead of demos.
It's demo. It's the demos, yeah.
Oh, was there a typo in it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's demo instead of demos. No S.
Please wait. Ah, no.
Okay, that enabled it on mine. Ignore that.
Neil, can you correct that, please?
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the update is pretty slow.
Yeah. All right. Manage repositories. And what do I do here?
It's demo, not demos. So you want to go to repository edit,
Oh.
and then guess as to where it might be on the screen. And
Get rid of the S on demos.
There you go.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
In theory, it should work now.
Okay.
There it
Okay.
is.
Hey, enable.
Wow.
It's a clappable moment.
Oh, all right, you drive. Okay.
Anyway, the idea of this whole repository is that, and I get the impression most developers in the community are not objecting against this, is that we get a central repository in which all sorts of software like a remote desktop client, a media player, etc. are all stored, and that they can be installed with just a click of a mouse. If I don't make any stupid typos. Sorry about that. Oh. Did the template folder close?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet, no.
Oh, can you close it?
All right.
It's again
Okay.
hanging for some reason.
Okay.
There you go.
looks good.
We see the package manager.
There should now possibly be an embellished package in the available list of packages.
Yes, do you want me to select it and install it?
Yes.
Oh. Then, Give me the mouse back. Huh?
What'd you, oh, okay. It just.
Now there should be an icon appearing on the desktop with the embellish layout folder as it's installed by the original installer from Embellish. But this is kind of the idea that you can install older applications that are repackaged. It's downloaded, and the added benefit is that if we have an updated VLC media player, for example, for OS2, that we can actually update it via RPM, and that you don't need to tinker around anymore with separate zip files. Could you peek on the desktop, Neil? There should actually be an embellish folder.
Yes. Yep, there we go.
Yes.
There it is.
Oh, there you go. So anyway, that's the idea, to start repackaging a whole bunch of older OS2 applications on OS2, but put them in an RPM format with all of the latest updates included, but also new software, and add that to a catalog that you can easily install on your system like this. So, okay, sorry, the demo had a bit of a rough ride, but I hope you enjoyed it, and just that you get another peek at what's happening behind the curtain when you update your system. And I hope you enjoy your warp stock further. And if there are no further questions, thank you for your time. Okay, thank you. And I hope to be actually there next year myself again when time permits. Okay, I'm signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.